really slow. There you go.
There we
Yeah.
go.
All right, we are live.
All right.
Okay.
So, to kick everything off, I am Toby. I'm here at DOS. I'm the intern here. This is Karen Gentile. She's the CEO. And we have Jill Malandrino on Skype on our video chat right above, as you can see. She is a global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Jill, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having us join today. I've worked with Karen in the past to introduce the Trader Challenge, so I'm kind of excited to go over the results of the #1 Best Trader competition results. And it looks as if there's been quite a lot of activity just to kick off the first week of trade, Karen.
It was crazy, Jill. We were watching it live throughout the day. We couldn't actually work because we were so glued into checking the ranking as it's happening. It was kind of really exciting.
It was.
Yeah. Actually, Toby was actually trading as well, because, I throw him in just to say, hey, I want you to have the same experience, so that we can kind of use Toby as our test subject, on the competition as well.
That's right. I was practicing my skills.
Yeah.
So,
What a week it was, because if you look at last Monday, we were around the 2,700 level in the S&P, and look at where we are right now. So depending on what side of the trade you were on and what sectors you were involved with, there's been some significant moves. I believe last week was the best week in the markets over the past 2 to 3 years. So certainly a great way to kick off the competition. I mean, you're kind of showing your trading chops from day one.
That's true. There were some massive movers. We can go over those in a bit. So yeah, let's start this up.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure. So
we're.
This overview, this is for last week's trades. It starts on June 3rd, ends on June 7th. This does not include Monday of this week, so just keep that in mind. So I'd like to start things off with some Excel analysis on some of the data and trades that we have. So if we start off here, we can see our dashboard, and we can see all of our traders on the left-hand side here. And we can see the top 10 traders. We can see as of last Friday, the top trader was Best 58. He had over $17,000 in profits, which is very significant. That's approaching almost 100% gains on his $25,000 in equity. And we can see the top 10 stocks that were traded over the last week. Over all of the traders, the top stock was AMD, and the second top was LJPC, which is a pharmaceutical stock. And the average trade profit and loss per day, we also have a graph of. We can see the first day we had some profits. Well, there were some losses, but they were the least amount of losses compared to the other days. These are over all the traders, remember? So we do have traders like Best 58 and 27, 25 that did make significant amounts of money. But we also did have people that lost significant amounts of money.
Right.
And we can also see the average P&L per day. We can see for all of the traders, it drops off. We had the most amount of losses at 4 p.m., which might mean something to you.
Yeah, maybe you could tell us what happened at 4 p.m., Jill.
Yeah, I was taking a look at the stocks as they were trading, and it seems to be that a lot of the traders like to be on momentum, or what you're seeing with earnings. So, you have Stitch Fix on there, you have Roku, which was a big name last week. You have BKS on there, which of course has been in the headlines. So it seems as if the traders are certainly actively involved, and they're looking for ideas around the close, and of course you're going to get some volatility in the after hours, and then of course the stocks are in the headlines. They seem to like to trade as well, so kind of a surprise to see the mix that was there, but I would be really curious to see some of what their styles were, what their methodology was behind it, what they did well, what they didn't do well, what they might do for next time. Have you gotten any feedback from the traders at all?
We have been reaching out to a couple traders to say, hey, are you willing to come on our show lives and just tell us what strategy you're using or what happened that day? Because there's a couple of them that were in the week that were really at the top and was very consistent and maintaining. And then they just got knocked out. Toby being one of them too.
I did.
And so, we are gonna get feedback. So next week we'll definitely have someone on the show with you so that we can find out exactly what strategy they were using, if they were using a strategy, or were they just so excited about trading and going crazy? So who knows?
I think, yeah, and you know what? I think will be really fun. And Karen, you and I can sweeten the deal here a bit. But when you wrap up the trader composition as a whole, I would love to have you back at MarketSite,
Sure.
and perhaps a couple of the winners and maybe
a
even
couple of the guys who were
the losers, right?
Yeah,
would
exactly.
love to come and join us. I would love to have a panel of 3 to 4 people there, including yourself, talking about why they picked the stocks that they picked, what their strategies were, what they could have done better, what they would look to do for next time. And I think that would be a lot of fun as well. So I'm looking for, as we complete this week, to see if they kind of stay with that frame of mind of trading the momentum stocks, or perhaps maybe they'll get a little bit more sector focused as macro headlines are really driving the tape this week. So I can't wait to see what the composition of the top 10 is for next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we'll get that together for you. We're gonna reach out. So if you're watching and you're in the competition, please do reach out to us and let us know if you are interested in joining us with Jill at the market site, just so that we can know what happened. Tell us what you were doing, what your strategy was. That's really very interesting. And if you can't make it that last week, if you can come in the other weeks that we're doing our stream to just join us and just tell us what's happening, we want to hear it. We're very interested.
That's right. Yeah, if you want to contact us, you can actually contact us at this link here. It is our email address, info@onebesttrader.com. If you do want to email us, feel free to do that, and we can try to get you in on next week's live stream.
Right.
Now, moving back to this Excel sheet, we can see that some of our most consistent traders were best 58. If we go to his specific profile, we can see that over the week he had never lost money any of the days, average P&L per trade at least. June 7th, which was Friday, was the biggest gains he had. On each trade, he had over $160 average profit per trade, which is very good. He's also in our top place with over $17,000 in profit.
Right.
Best 27 was similar. They also had very consistent profits, even if they were negative the first day. Best 35 as well. Best 35 is actually Paula. She is a trader, and she is based in Peru, was it?
Yeah, Peru. Right.
And she sent us her information. If you want to do that, we could shout you out too. But she's been having pretty consistent profits as well. You can see she's had over $1,500 in profits.
I think she's the only female in the competition,
Is she?
remaining in the competition right now. So that's
nice.
very significant. She's been very consistent. She's been in the top 10 from day one. So she's pretty consistent.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun to have her on. I kind of like this Tuesday afternoon strategy sesh, kind of hear how people are, managing their portfolios week to week. So thank you for modern technology that we can connect like this.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And then the last person I'd just like to give a little shout out to is Best 13. Best 13 wasn't doing so well last Friday. He had 21,000 in losses, but he did show consistent improvements. He lost a lot of money the first day, but then by the fifth day he was profiting actually, per trade at least. And 6 and 7, he was a little negative, but he was a lot better than he was. We can definitely see some improvement. So that's what we're looking for. Consistency is above all. Even if you lose money, it's just that you're learning and you're getting better at your trading is what matters.
Yes, and I'm curious to hear about that because Monday last week it was we started down, significant down day. So you wonder if just people were sort of on the wrong side of the tape, if you will, or if they had actually learned something in terms of position size and perhaps adjusting their stops and to become a little bit more consistent over the remainder of the week, shooting for more singles and doubles versus home runs. I always love to hear sort of how traders are developing their plans and how they continue to improve upon that. And I know, Karen, you talk about that all the time in terms of planning methodology. I mean, you have to remain consistent and within the confines of your plan. So I'd be really curious to see how that's developing over the course of the competition.
Right. We actually have Paula saying hi to us on YouTube right now. So
so Best 13, if you do watch this, feel free to contact us. We'd love to have you on, talk about your mistakes, talk about the things you would improve next time. We'd love to hear that. So just moving on with our little PowerPoint here, we can see two of our top movers, two of the most traded stocks last week were AMD and another pharmaceutical stock we'll get to in a minute. AMD had a large spike last week, and this was due to a strategic partnership which was released in the media between Samsung and AMD, and it was to license some of AMD's graphics technology. You can see that in this little chart in the upper right-hand corner, this is a chart of the last week or so, and we can see that there was a little drop Monday, but then starting Tuesday, there was significantly climbing nearly the whole week.
Right. Fantastic chart.
Yes, and then if we look at the bottom chart, we can see the last month, and we can see that box that the candlestick that I put the box around, we can see is last week's candlestick, and as you can see, it is one of the largest upward spikes of the entire last 6 months of the year. So definitely a good week for those who got in on AMD with a long position. Now moving on to LJPC, we can see that this is a pharmaceutical stock, and LJPC released positive results for a phase 2 study for hormone for use in hereditary hemochromatosis, which is a disease that results in iron accumulation in the body. And we can see that they had a 92% jump on June 6th, and there's a lot of people got in on the stock because even after that brief spike up, it kept on going up for another day or so before it steadied out and came back down. So definitely good results for those people that got in at the right time for these two stocks here. So now, as Karen mentioned, I was actually also trading in the competition just for my own personal practice. And yesterday, I really got destroyed by a pharmaceutical stock. And the stock, I will show you, the stock was spiked up yesterday, and then it came back down, and I was caught up in the downfall of it. I'll show you my strategy, and I'll show you what I did wrong and what I could have done better. One moment. Here it is. PRVB was a stock. It was one of the top stocks of yesterday. And if we look at it over here, it spiked up, and then over here it was oscillating back and forth with some pretty predictable wave patterns. And I was trading those. I was buying and shorting at the top and bottom of every wave, and I was consistently making profits on like a dozen or so trades. And then right over here where we can see it dropped down a bit, I had a buy order in when it dropped down a little bit, and I didn't have a proper stop loss in place. And because of that, it kept on dropping, and I lost much more than all the money I gained yesterday. And just some key takeaways from that. My recommendations: make sure you're good with those stop losses, and make sure you're using limit orders to reduce your amount of bad fills. So if you're placing market orders, I know there's definitely an aspect of FOMO here. You don't want to miss out on the moving stocks that are moving rapidly. But if you just place a market order, there's a very good chance that you're going to get a bad fill on your order, and you could be losing out on potential profit. And another thing I noticed, in myself at least, was to make sure that I cut my losses early. This wasn't the case with that pharmaceutical stock, but there were some stocks I was in where I was taking losses, and I didn't want to pull out of them because I was hoping that eventually the stock would come back in the direction I was hoping for, and they didn't. And then by the time I cut my losses, I had taken a much bigger loss than I would have if I had done it when I should have cut them earlier on. So maybe just some things to keep in mind. Those were my mistakes that I know in the future when I trade, I'll definitely work on not doing that again. But I hope that maybe some of you this would help.
Right.
Jill or Karen, anything else?
Yeah, and I completely agree with Toby. If you can just have a set a plan out, as to maybe you have a percentage as to how much you want to take on your profit, and then just cut your loss early and move on to the next stock, or just take a break, do a little research before you get into the next stock. So yeah, or if you're trading the same stock, take a break and then wait a little bit before you go back in and try to. It's hard to control your emotions in the market, but it really is an emotional control thing. So like Toby said, he felt like the stock was going to move back. It was more like hopeful thinking than him actually looking at the charts or reading some form of technical analysis to show what's the movement of the stock, or is it going to move in that direction, or what he wanted it to do. So what's your thought, Jill?
I agree with you 100%. And that really is the challenge, particularly for newer traders, that it's so easy to go into a trade. Okay, what's my profit going to be? And your experienced professional trader will always go in there understanding the risk of the trade first. And this is very a lot of you really good option traders and derivative traders. That's kind of the mantra that they use going into it. What's my risk first? What can I manage? What can I possibly lose versus going in? How can I hit a home run with that trade? And I think that's the hardest part, particularly as a newer trader coming in, understanding how to accept your losses, how to learn from them, and how to become a better trader. My personal style, I'm about singles and doubles. I know my upside, I know my downside, and I'd rather be consistent to that and perhaps lose out on a higher potential return. But I also want to be in the game longer term, particularly if this is something as a day trader or swing trader that you're making a career out of. So within the confines of this challenge, this is a great opportunity to learn those lessons and really establish your trading plan. So Karen, what you're doing through Number One Best Trader, I think is such a service to newer traders looking to, get into this.
Yeah, absolutely. So do we want to open this up to maybe some questions from, I see Paula is saying something here. I don't know if she has a question that she wants to ask us, or if anyone else who is on this stream would like to ask us a question at this moment. So we'll wait.
Might be a little delay, but we'll see them come through if you have any.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we want to take a look at the ranking page while we're waiting for questions?
Sure, let's do that.
Let's take a look to see what's happening right now on the ranking page.
So this is the current ranking page as of a little after the close of the market on Tuesday. And we can see that Best 58 is still in the top place today, even though he lost almost $6,000.
Let's take a look at what he's holding.
Let's see what he's holding. He's holding nothing right now.
Yeah.
We can see today, though, he was trading BPTH, CTRV, GX, and he took losses on... He's taking losses on BPTH recently.
Yeah, that was a large position that he was trading in.
Yeah. That's another thing I've learned to improve over the course of the last week. At first, I was just taking large positions and things, and of course, you should try to diversify what you're holding. But I've also learned to average into my positions more. So to start with a smaller position, and if it keeps on going, say I have a long position in something, if it keeps on going down, I'll maybe if I think that the stock is eventually going to go up, I'll drop some more money into that stock after it drops some, and then my average cost of the stock that I was in drops down some, and then when it eventually does come back up, I'll have made more money than if I just put in a huge position all up front.
Right. Okay.
It's kind of an adage they say in options trading: leg in and plow out. So kind of along those lines there, but I think would be a great topic of conversation perhaps for the next call. We could tease this out there, is how do you manage a losing position? There are some schools of thought out there that you don't add to a losing position, and there's just different ways that different types of traders manage it. So I'd be really curious to see how that's approached. As we know, there's buyers and sellers. That's what makes trading happen. So I'd curious to see how everyone's different methodologies play out, particularly in a market that's so headline driven. So it's not surprising to me to see Best 58 flatten his positions for the day.
Yeah.
Overnight headlines, again, look at what happened last Sunday night going into Monday morning trade by a tweet. So even though these aren't necessarily macro trades, a lot of the traders I've been speaking with, they look to really flatten out, or at least add some protection on, perhaps in the way of protective S&P puts and so forth, but that really is an issue, trying to manage, the overnight movements in the market.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
Right. Yeah. So who's the second person? Well, let's take a look at Best 74.
Best 74.
Yeah.
Best 74 had over $5,500 in gains today, so nice job on that. They're in second place right now. They were trading AMD a lot and GX. Nice job to them. Best 49, Best 19 too. We've got all these people.
Yeah,
they're all making money.
Yeah, and these three people that are in the second, third to fourth place are all trading in one community. They're the Bear Bull Traders community, and they're pretty consistent. In the beginning of the first week, I think they dominated, and then afterwards they all quite a few of them that were at the top got blown out yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah, and so now these guys that were there are slowly moving up, into the competition. So that looks good. Is anyone holding positions? Let's take a look to see if anyone's holding any position.
None on the second, none on the third.
So so Jill, you're right. Those who are consistently in the top are not holding positions overnight. They are using the strategy of, going flat, and not risk, coming in the morning with a big move.
That's true. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it doesn't look like anyone has any questions.
Yeah.
Anything else? Either?
Yeah, I think we're
either of
good.
you'd like to add?
So
Cool.
next week, same time, we'll be here.
Yeah, 4
And-
o'clock,
Perfect.
and we'll talk about this week's trades. So yesterday's big mover, that pharmaceutical stock, we'll go into. A lot of people lost out on that. We can talk about that. Just make sure you, if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Maybe go follow Jill on social media accounts.
Yep.
And next week, 4 p.m., next Tuesday.
Right.
We'll see you then.
All right.
Sounds
thank you.
good. Have a great week, everybody.
You too.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.